No, we're good. We are going to get started here. It's funny, we know how to do Sunday morning church, but you move it to Saturday night, you put people that aren't always here, you have a different script, and it's still coming together. So gratitude to everyone here. We'll do the welcome in a minute and we'll signal Michael for the prelude, but I do want to check in with our tech team. That'd be John. We have, I know, at least one guest online. So we welcome everyone here for our service. We've got some fun things planned and we're mostly going to sing. So if everybody turns and looks at the camera way back there, could everybody wave? And we'll do a sound check there, make sure closed caption is on. And if you're online and have any issues, you can use the chat. So we're there. So we begin, grateful for Michael Casey doing our prelude tonight. Now, yay. Yay, thank you. And Theo's got something from Kim Agee, and we are good. So everybody tonight is going to need the gray hymnal, but not the turquoise colored one, what we call the teal hymnal. So we'll be using that often. But I want to begin by welcoming everyone to the Unitarian Universalists of the Chester Rivers Eve of Eve service. For folks that didn't see, I put something in the newsletter this week, a little bit about the history of the Eve of Eve service, and the congregation is just over 30 years old. You can check with Diane or Amy or some of our folks. From the best of everyone's knowledge, we've never had a Christmas Eve service. It's just always been on the 23rd. It was when space was available, when restaurants were available, and what has created the history of this service. So I'm Reverend Sue Browning. I have the honor of serving this congregation. I'm joined by Michael Casey and several members who are going to help us with the service. And we then have the refreshments. And thank you for all of our contributions. So we gather tonight, to pause. We gather to appreciate the beauty of a season. And I ask you, over this last week, this last day, has anything jumped out at you in the midst of the ordinary? You're having your regular day. Have you seen maybe a curious bird or noticed a favorite ornament? Maybe sunbeams that have just hit rain a certain way. Or maybe a small kindness from a neighbor. What in your everyday life have you noticed that was joyful of late? We come to learn the stories of the Christmas season. We'll talk both the traditional and a little bit less traditional stories tonight. And the story, in essence, is the story of a pretty ordinary night when something extraordinary happened. As Unitarian Universalists, we strive to be a deeply inclusive congregation and to center love in all we do. If you are visiting us or you're visiting us online or you're here and you have questions about the congregation or you haven't been for a while, please be sure to check in with me, check with the greeter, check with someone and find out all the cool things that have been going on in the congregation. One of the things we do to start services in a Unitarian Universalist congregation is we light a chalice. It's one of the many lights of the season, and I invite Kathy Lee to come forward and light our chalice.
We kindle a small flame in the dark of the year, remembering the promise of life abundant, of a possible peace. We pause on this night of mystery to tell the stories, to sing the songs, and to bring more light into the world. We light our chalice, grateful to be together. Tonight we connect through music. Please rise in body or spirit, and we'll sing the first hymn, O Come All Ye Faithful.
job. Everybody can be seated. We now know what it means when it says everybody get a hymnal. It turns out the minister should have one too. So before we do the next thing, which is going to be a story that Marcy's going to help me with, the one thing that I am remembering is that it's also a season called Advent. Because we're having our Christmas Eve service so early, and it's including tomorrow night, the Sundays before Christmas are called Advent. And in the Unitarian tradition, we think of the candles of love and peace and joy and hope. So I'm going to, off the chalice, I'm going to light those candles, and tonight is the last Sunday leading to Christmas, but it's not quite Sunday because it's Saturday night and we're just so mixed up here. But we are going to go ahead and light those candles to add some more light into the room. Angels' bells. So I'm going to invite Miss Marcy, and she and I can fully claim this is a fully unrehearsed little thing you're about to see. Oh, and reader number 3, having an important but very small part, should come up too. And if you hold the mic, if you stand a little away from me and hold it just like an ice cream cone, it works beautifully.
Like so?
Like so.
Okay.
So here we are in our sanctuary. We're waiting in the dark. It's such a beautiful night. We're waiting for Christmas. I think there are a lot of people in this room that are pretty darn excited for Christmas, but not everybody gets excited about Christmas. I'm thinking about that story of how the Grinch stole Christmas. But tonight, I'm not even going to think about the whole story. Tonight, I'm going to especially think about the Grinch. How did things get to a point that the Grinch decides to dress up as Santa, put his dog Max in reindeer gear, head downtown, take all the presents and decorations away? How did things ever get that bad between the Grinch and the Who's down in Whoville?
Good question. In the story, we don't hear much. No real backstory. We just hear the Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now, please don't ask why. No one knows the reason. I absolutely think we should ask why. The Grinch must have some really big reasons to hate Christmas so much.
So we do hear a little bit in the story. We hear maybe that his head wasn't screwed on quite right, just right. But to me, I don't know, folks. I think that seems odd. We're all a little different, but that doesn't seem a reason to be that angry, to hate Christmas.
And then we hear it could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight. Then maybe just try some bigger shoes. You gotta wonder, could this mess have all been avoided with bigger shoes?
And it may have been, they say, that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But we all start with hearts that know how to love. So I'm just not buying that either.
Whatever's going on now for the Grinch, I bet it didn't start as a big issue. Something year after year made him angrier and angrier. We hear from the Grinch, why, for 53 years I've put up with it now. He just got madder and madder for 53 years, and now he's about to lose it. 53 years. Maybe someone should have checked in on him a while back. I wonder who took the time to visit him up on the mountain. Or if he ever had friends or family, a church, a caring committee.
But yet here we are. The Grinch at this point just clearly hates Christmas and everything the Who's do, but those Who's down in Whoville, They're just so into everything Christmas. They're hanging the stockings and the wreath, and they're just getting ready.
The Who's seem more than okay. To be honest, they're sort of clueless that their Grinch neighbor is so upset.
It just seems to me this Grinch, he's been isolated all alone on the mountaintop and he doesn't know how to love. At least not yet. And the Who's, well, they've been doing their thing year after year, and frankly, I don't think they were paying much attention.
Now the Grinch is going to be bad, really bad. We can hear him begin to plot. I must find some way to stop Christmas from happening. Mr. Grinch.
So, dressed up as Santa, the Grinch goes down, takes the toys and the food, and just when he is taking the tree and trying to stuff it up the chimney, he gets caught by little Cindy Lou Who.
She stared at the Grinch and said, Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why?
But you know that old Grinch was so smart and so slick, he thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick. Why, my sweet little tot, the fake Santa Claus lied. There's a light on this tree that won't light on one side. So I'm going to take it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, then I'll bring it back here.
First stealing and then lying to a child, that Grinch is miserable, and he's determined that everyone else should be too.
So the Grinch does his thing, and he wakes up Christmas Day feeling pretty proud, feeling victory. He has shown them. But then the Grinch is shocked. Even with no presents, no trees, or no feast, he hears singing. The Grinch put his hand to his ear, and he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, and then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. The sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry, very. And every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, were singing without any presents at all.
He realized Christmas wasn't about stuff. And maybe, just maybe, he was learning to love, being shown how to love, feeling love. He'd met little Cindy Lou Who. He was welcomed by all. We know the ending. Well, in Whoville, they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day, and the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light, and he brought back the toys and the food for the feast, and he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast.
think we get a hand for our players here.
Thank you very much.
But I think when we're going to talk a lot about stories, we're going to talk some other really traditional stories, but I want folks to remember that's an important one. Our next hymn is hymn number 244. It's called "It Came Upon a Midnight Clear." And what I want folks to remember about this hymn is it was written by Edmund Sears. He was a Unitarian minister, and it was written in the time of war. So as you think about some of the conflicts, this was written before the Civil War in 1849. So why don't we stand up and stretch for hymn 244. So there are stories like the story about the Grinch, and those are fun stories. Stories help us think differently. We can imagine being the Grinch, or maybe you could imagine being Cindy Lou Who. Our next story is about the birth of a baby. And what's amazing to me, this is the story about the birth of the baby Jesus. And what's probably the most amazing thing to me is tonight or tomorrow night, there are millions and millions of people in the world telling virtually this exact story. It's a story that has lasted. It's being told in cathedrals and small churches and homes, and through the Christmas songs that we sing. Think of it as a story of love that's being born and reborn. Think about what it is you hear with each reading. So I'm going to invite some of our other friends to come forward, and then we're going to stay seated, and you'll see it in your order of service, and then we're going to sing one verse of each of the hymns that we have listed. Just the first verse, we're going to stay seated. So Bob Coleman, you can start us off.
The birth of Jesus from Luke chapter 2, verses 1 through 7. In those days, a decree went out from Emperor Augustus that all the world should be registered. This was the first registration and was taken while Quirinius was governor of Syria. All went to their own towns to be registered. Joseph also went from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, in the city of David called Bethlehem, because he was descended from the house and family of David. He went to be registered with Mary, to whom he was engaged and who was expecting a child. While they were there, the time came for her to deliver her child, and she gave birth to her firstborn son and wrapped him in bands of cloth and laid him in a manger, because there was no place for them in the inn.
So we're going to hear the song that matches that, which is "O Little Town of Bethlehem." It's 2:46, and we're just going to stay seated and sing the first verse. And then Kim can come up and read after that.
The shepherds and the angels, Luke 2, 8 through 14. In that region, there were shepherds living in the fields, keeping watch over their flock by night. Then an angel of the Lord stood before them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were terrified. But the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid, for see, I am bringing you good news of great joy for all the people. To you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, who is the Messiah. This will be a sign for you. You will find a child wrapped in bands of cloth and lying in a manger." And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of the heavenly host, praising God and saying, "Glory to God in the highest heaven, and on earth peace among those whom he favors." Now the first Noel. First Noel is our next hymn, number 237.
I think it's, in the program it says "Angels We Have Heard on High."
Okay, let me look at that.
I move it year to year.
231, 231.
Sorry. And our final reading will be Theo Chem.
When the angels had left them and gone into heaven, the shepherds said to one another, "Let us go now to Bethlehem and see this thing that has taken place, which the Lord has made known to us." So they went with haste and found Mary and Joseph and the child lying in the manger. When they saw this, they made known what had been told to them about this child, and all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds told them. But Mary treasured all these words and pondered them in her heart. The shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all they had heard and seen, as it had been told to them.
And our final reading, what does it say in the order of service? Let me
Final
check.
hymn.
Which one?
The final hymn you said reading.
What I meant is the hymn after that reading. I'll make sure I get it right this time. It says go tell it on the mountain?
Yep.
Okay, we got it. 239, we got it. Thank you to all of our readers. They're not listed in the order of service because we were straightening it out till the end here. So much of Christmas is about images. Think about all the lights. Think about setting the table. How many people set their table a little fancier at Christmas than they might on a regular night? Very few of you. Okay, how good of you. At least you're honest. I like the honest. The smells of baking and some of the surprises, all the Christmas cards that are coming in, I think every single one of them has a photo nowadays. So it's sort of like we live our lives from January to November, sort of our ordinary lives. I mean, a few excitements, few birthdays and whatever. And then in December, everything comes with some intensity, a splash. There's something that brings our attention in. So my question for us is, what are you hearing in the stories tonight? Whether you're hearing about the Grinch and thinking about the Grinch all by himself on the mountain, or maybe you heard something just a little bit different when you heard the traditional readings that our friends just did. I was thinking a lot about the Grinch this week, but then I also was thinking about the Christmas story. And I do probably more Facebook than is actually healthy. And I was looking, I saw one of the memes I saw on Facebook said this, quote, "Here's Mary, exhausted, having just gotten Jesus to sleep, and she's approached by a young man who thinks to himself, what this girl needs right now is a drum solo." For some reason, it got me thinking differently about the song, The Little Drummer Boy, and it also reminded me how the newest parents, if you've got a really little baby, they have to figure out feeding and changing and keeping a baby warm. And that's true today, and it was true 2,000 years ago. It is a very tender and what they call vulnerable time when you have a little baby. In the ancient readings tonight, we also heard mentions of Galilee and Bethlehem, and the Christian celebrations of Christmas. The tellings of these stories have been canceled this year. It's too dangerous. We acknowledge when we think of the stories that there are some wars and conflicts that are going on in that region, and that there are so many people whose heritage and where their ancestors came from are tied to that region. It's an area shaken by violence and war. It's complex, it's not simple. And it's good to remember that stories, whether it's the Grinch or the stories of Christmas, they all have lots of angles. But I come back to the birth. So we're in a manger. So a manger is like a little, almost a box that they use for animals. And we've got a story of a young couple, probably not much older, in different ages than those kids that are right in front of me. So this baby, it was born of just sort of everyday folks. It wasn't, the baby Jesus wasn't born to rich people or anything else. And babies being born is common. So in addition to writing weird little stories, I'm also a data geek. Each day in the world, about 385,000 children are born per day. Since last Christmas Eve, 140 million babies have been born. So it's common in that way, and that it happens all the time. But when a baby is born to your family, it changes your family's life. And for the baby, it's their first day of life. In that moment, whether you're the Grinch being born, whoever's being born, all the potential to love is right there. But then that love has to be taken care of. It has to be nurtured from the start, because that's how we learn to trust one another. And from love, a child grows up and learns how to be kind. And then kind children grow up. They learn how to care for their neighbors, even the really Grinchy ones. And then I've thought about the shepherds. Sometimes we think of shepherds as being little children, but probably they were more adults, maybe young adults, and they had their own routines. When you're caring for the sheep, you're usually in the mountains, and it's cold, and it can get cold, might be really hot during the day. So they have to take care of the animals, but they also have to take care of themselves. They have to eat and sleep and stay warm. So we all have our cycles, we all have our routines, whether your routine is school or work or retirement or in volunteers. You have times in your daily routine where you make phone calls, you text your friends, you need to take a bath or a shower, you cook, you eat, you clean, you procrastinate on cleaning, whatever the routine is. You got dentist appointments, sports appointments, music practice. That's what I call sort of our ordinary life. But if we pay attention, even in the little things, maybe you're in a school cafeteria, maybe you're in that dentist office, even in the most common places, something extraordinary can happen or not. But I think of those shepherds. They could have ignored that flash of light in the story, and we treat it like a story. There's a flash of light trying to get their attention. I don't know how long it lasted, if it really happened, but do you pay attention when something little happens? The earth rumbled for those shepherds. Earthquakes aren't that uncommon. Did you pay attention? Those shepherds could have turned their back on the angels. They could have done the ancient equivalent of putting on their headphones, riding in the back of the car and not looking at one thing your parents are telling you is interesting that's going around. But for whatever reasons, those shepherds looked out. It could have been otherwise, but the angels got their attention. First, they were scared, but then they were reassured. And then they found that this one baby was a really special baby, like all babies are really special. And they went and started telling the stories of hope. It was a common event, witnessed by a few, and then joy was spread and hope was spread. We had some friends recently, and they had little puppies. They were breeding their dog, and the puppy had 11 babies one night, and they posted it all over Facebook. And there was a 12th puppy in the morning. And then they posted on Facebook the next 3 months of those puppies' lives. We all got to pay attention because the story got out there. One of my colleagues, a minister named Reverend Alex Klingberg, he sees it this way. We come together tonight to remember the history or the myth that says hope was born in the form of a baby named Jesus. What's so compelling about the story of Jesus's birth, his life, and his love? What is so compelling about that? Why has the story reached across the ages to us, while so many others have faded into history? Jesus embodies the best of what humanity can be: compassionate, humble, brave, and mortal. Jesus asks us to make the most of our lives, to create joy where there is pain, to care for the poor, question the powerful, and perhaps most importantly, to question the purposes of our own life. What will we leave in our wake? To whom will we be reborn? What light can we bring to darkness? Tonight, on the eve of Christmas, we contemplate the significance that one person can have and revel in those possibilities. It's the end of my colleague's writing, but I keep coming back to it could have been otherwise. Maybe no one would have noticed. So tonight we're remembered that stories invite us to stay awake, not on Christmas night, not too late, but to be awake and paying attention, to hear lots of perspectives, and to remember that something extraordinary just might happen from the littlest thing that you notice. So that's our message for tonight. And now we're going to sing the hymn, Joy to the World, which is number 245. Please stand up. Go, Michael, great job. Please be seated. So now we just take a time. We're going to sing Silent Night in just a minute, but I ask us now to do something. Some people call it prayer, some people call it a blessing. And I want us just to take time to think about love and how love sustains life. This Christmas, may all who are here be touched in some way by a sense of magic and a sense of mystery. May all here find they feel connected to something beyond themselves. Maybe it's the stars on a dark night, the miracle of new growth and new life, the sense of belonging to this community or the many communities you have in your life. Maybe you feel connected to those who have come before and those who will come after. We hold in love the many ways our lives have changed since last year. Losses, new life, transitions, unexpected joy. Spirit of life, Spirit of love, as we pause, sense this moment. trust in this moment and the next moment and the moment after that, that we will be filled by the fullest sense of Christmas, the reverence for life, respect for all that sustains us, and our connection with all humanity and with all of the earth. Amen. The fact that we have a baby here is the coolest thing in the world. So now what we're going to do this quietly and gently, is we didn't print the words in there, so you're going to need your hymnal. You're going to need a candle. Does everybody have a candle, or anybody need a candle? We got enough candles? And then we're going to really be brave and try to stand in the big circle, which we've done before. We've tried it. So everybody spread out as far as you can around the edges of the room. If somebody could get me a candle, that would be. When do you guys get me a candle? Thanks. I want those little. I'll share. I can share. Yeah, go tell John that. Okay, and once we get in our big circle with nobody falling, we're going to put the lights down. And I'm going to ask her hand to go ahead and come up here so she's ready to do her reading when we're all done. We'll turn a light back on for you if we need to, Mindy, but just you can stand right here so we're close by each other. You don't have to stand. Thank you so much. Does everybody have their candle on before we let John put the lights down a little bit more? So we're going to go for as much darkness as we can and fake it on the words. Okay, Michael? Yeah, we can go down a little bit more, John.
When the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and princes are home, when the shepherds are back with their flocks, the work of Christmas begins, to find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoner, to rebuild the nations, to bring peace among the people, to make music in the heart.
We go with those beautiful words. We move to our snacks. We move with love, because what I hope you heard today is we all are born with that potential. It's when it's nurtured that you come into the place of a compassionate and humble person and persons and more. And that seems to be what we need. Go in peace, go in love, go knowing love surrounds you wherever you may go. Have a wonderful Christmas, everyone. Happy New Year.